Hey, good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, Hurricane Track here. It is now Saturday, the 6th of July, 2024. On the update today, oh, by the way, I'm back in Houston, hotel room here near the airport. You hear the planes going over. Just got in this morning, ready for Beryl. It is headed for Texas. And so that's what I'm going to focus on today's update, is what to expect for those of us here in Texas, me included, because I'm here now. We're going to put out several camera systems, a couple of weather instruments to get the air pressure readings. Wasn't able to airline our super incredible anemometer systems, and I didn't drive down because, like you, we weren't sure what was going to happen. One of those planes going over now, and I didn't really have time to drive out here, so we brought what we could. I'll be working with one of my colleagues from Colorado. Matt is joining me, and we're going to do the best we can. So what I want to focus on again is what to expect. What are the impacts expected to be? Not going to show you any of the computer models. There's not really any reason to do that. We know that Beryl is going to make landfall in Texas. We're about as certain as that as we could possibly be. So that being said, all right, what's going to happen? That's what I want to focus on today. All right, I think that's where my time serving you is best spent. So let's get started, shall we? First, the interactive map off the Hurricane Track Insider site. And I'm going to talk about that with you a little bit more here, these last several tabs. What do we do here? What can you learn from us? How can we show you what's happening? For those of you that are new to the YouTube channel, that'll be pretty helpful for you. But first, let's take a look at the stats. Beryl, 60 miles per hour, 997 on the pressure. Tropical storm warning now issued for portions of the western Gulf Coast, and it is expected to be a hurricane near landfall. So this is, again, that interactive map. And we've got the cone, the forecast cone, the skinny black line as we call it, and then the little dots here with S for tropical storm, 1 for category 1 hurricane, and so forth. And a couple things I want you to notice. First of all, where it makes landfall does matter, but, north and east from there, you're going to get onshore flow, counterclockwise rotation, so you're going to get a water rise through this area. Storm surge, big waves, just the rise in water overall. That includes Galveston Bay and even parts of southwest Louisiana. You're going to feel this as well. The next part, of course, it's a big system. You're going to get a lot of rain. It's not a little small thunderstorm. I'll show you that on satellite in a minute. So the point is, a lot of people through this area are going to feel direct impacts. And then you can have indirect impacts all the way through the rest of the Gulf Coast, and even down here along the Bay of Campeche, the coast of Mexico, from swells, ocean waves that are generated from this system, especially when it was stronger. All of that's going to impact a huge area, a lot of people affected. And then, of course, Beryl and its energy will move inland, and you're going to get heavy rain, the threat of severe weather possibly as this decays away, moving to the northeast around the periphery of one of these huge high pressure areas. And let me just back this out a little bit. I'll do a little bit of map drawing for you. I'll use red. So this is an oversimplification, but we have a huge high sitting over here, and that's why we had record heat in Raleigh yesterday, 104 degrees, where I was trying to fly out. And then we got another big old high pressure sitting out here. Palm Springs yesterday hit 124, Death Valley, toasty. And I know everybody says, oh, it's summer, it's always supposed to be hot. Well, this is really hot, and we're not going to get into all of that. But in the middle, that's the important part, we've got this trough that would develop. Not developed yet, but it is going to happen. So instead of the ridge being connected like this, which would send Beryl right into Mexico, there is that weakness in between, and that's what the models do show. So you have one high sitting over here, one big old high sitting over here, and the weakness in between will be the corridor that allows Beryl to move north and eventually northeast. Again, what I drew there was an oversimplification of it, but that's why we are having this headed towards Texas. All right? So looking at the National Hurricane Center homepage, a few of these graphics here I want to point out. First of all, let's make sure we know the key messages. That's a very good source of information that's easy to understand. 3 bullet points here. And the last one here is really important, that rip currents causing life-threatening beach conditions through the weekend across much of the Gulf Coast. Beachgoers should heed, I gotta just slow down, the warning flags and the advice of lifeguards and local officials. Seriously, we've got to keep you alive, got to keep you safe. The other part of this that I really want to emphasize is rainfall. Very heavy rain. Anywhere in the yellow and then the orange and then the deeper color of orange there, I'll outline it in black here. Let's just really make this pop. So anywhere through here, we could be looking at 4 to 6 inches of rain or more. And that area, and then you look at Houston up here, 8 to 12 inches. So that's approaching a foot around the greater Houston area. And that is important because, and you guys know this if you live there or if you've been paying attention, even the last decade, Houston has a big flood problem. So even though the center should make landfall well to the south and west of Houston, if you are new to the Houston area, this is going to be your hurricane too. Not because of necessarily hurricane force winds or whatever the category may be. Forget all that. Focus on this major hazard here, rainfall. That's going to send the flood channels, all the areas up there that we're so familiar with for reasons that we know from history, they're going to get full. And you need to be paying attention to that. Look at the Harris County Flood Control District site on social media, their actual website, all of that. Follow that and be ready for this. So rain, a very big concern here as Beryl comes in. Now, it won't stall out, hopefully, like we saw with Harvey, but we are now in the moderate risk of flooding from the Weather Prediction Center. This is important. If this was a severe weather outbreak and we saw moderate, that red, storm chasers would be all about it. There'd be a lot of hype in the news, as well there should be. So let's don't downplay or ignore rain as a very detrimental impact. All right, please. So peak surge doesn't look too problematic yet. I expect that these numbers will go up because I think Beryl will be strong enough to warrant such. So for now, the peak surge forecast above normally dry ground, 3 to 5 feet, and 2 to 4 feet up near the Galveston area, Galveston Bay, 2 to 4 feet. And I think, too, that we could see this extended, not my call, just telling you, I think we could see it extended more to the east. We'll have to see about that. Could be some water rises from High Island and points east from there into Louisiana. All right, a couple things to point out. Like I said, no computer models today. Let's just look at, open the window and see what's going on out there. That's the phrase I like to use often. And what do we notice? Well, the center of circulation, it all took a hit. The dry air, the shear, wrecked Beryl's inner core as it went across the Yucatan. But now the conditions are clearly starting to improve. And a few things that I noticed just by looking at this is the feathering of these clouds here. You're not seeing them getting pulled across like this, and the shear is starting to relax. You have your counterclockwise rotation at the surface and through the column of the storm, and then the upper levels of the atmosphere, that high pressure starting to build in, the shear relaxing, so you got that anticyclonic flow. It is starting to reorganize, and I think we could see some very interesting things over the next day to day and a half as this tracks eventually and then turning towards Mexico and Texas with very warm water sitting in front of it. So just looking at this animation alone should give you motivation enough. Don't worry about what it was like last night and early this morning when it did look wrecked. It didn't look impressive at all. Believe me when I tell you, tropical cyclones, and that's what this is, that's the generic term, can increase in intensity very, very quickly. And that is, of course, if we're just looking at pressure and wind. Beyond that, look at how big that weather feature is. That's going to bring all that rain I talked about, the possibility of water spouts, severe weather maybe. And the oil interest in the Gulf of Mexico, of course, they are on alert. They know all about this stuff. But this will be an impactful system. And if Beryl fills out again and really takes advantage of the environment, we could have a strengthening hurricane when it makes landfall, and that could pose some big problems. A strengthening hurricane is certainly more impactful. Everything just seems to be more exacerbated when these things are strengthening. So water temperatures, these are the actual temperatures, not anomalies. So the actual temperatures, and this is what all Beryl has to go through. I use black actually to make it pop better. So look at all this. Beryl still has to traverse all that, and it's just going to get warmer and warmer. A big reason why we didn't see much intensification, among other things, once Beryl popped off the Yucatan, and this is generally where it is now, the water temperatures are cooler down here because of upwelling from the southerly winds that come through, and so it didn't have as much upper ocean heat content to work with. Over the next 2 days, roughly, all the way to the Texas coast here, nothing but warmer and warmer water, undisturbed by the early season shenanigans we've already had, and that is problematic. It really is. That's a lot of fuel. And the anomalies, much above normal all through that area. And I'm telling you, this is one of those points I want to make where, you border on hype or fear-mongering or whatever. These are the facts. We know that it is organizing. We know that it has a very solid environment in front of it, all the way to landfall. The upper environment from those computer models that we already have looked at, and that's what I mean, let's just look at what we know, shows a very favorable setup all the way to landfall, so people right along the immediate coast need to be prepared for that. And I'm telling you, an intensifying hurricane at landfall is a far different beast than one that is weakening. And I know it sounds obvious, but believe me, it is much, much different. All those impacts, especially the wind, the surge gets really ramped up, that can be very problematic. So please be prepared for that, all right? All right. Oh, and the other thing, too, off the Hurricane Center homepage, let's go back to it. Once things get cranking, as they are, I want to show you this right here. Very important. Look for this little nugget. Off the Hurricane Center homepage, it's kind of buried there, so please look for it. National Weather Service local products. nhc.noaa.gov or weather.gov or hurricanes with an s.gov. Find that, National Weather Service local products, click on it, bingo. You want to know the details for your local area? Well, there's Brownsville, WFO Weather Forecast Office, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Houston. You can look at the local impacts, when it was issued, and let's just look at the Corpus Christi, what we call County Warning Area, or the WFO, the Weather Forecast Office out of Corpus. Lots of really good, helpful local info here. Loading slow on my hotel Wi-Fi, but it's got a lot of good info. Read this. Tells you right there, spelled out, what to expect, when to expect it. So there you go, Brownsville, Corpus, Houston, Galveston. I will put a link to this right here for you in today's description so that you can go right to this page. All right, very helpful. So we are here, my colleague Matt, another jet flying over, busy at the airport today, probably every day. What do we do? How do we do it? Well, the main thing that we do at Hurricane Track is we educate, inform, do these videos. We get people paying attention, aware, all that kind of good stuff, bringing our collective knowledge to social media, mainly on YouTube. And how do we do it? Well, we're funded through Patreon, but more than just a site for gathering the money, it is a community. It really is. So we take that collective knowledge, the funding as well, and we go out in the field and we set up equipment. And we observe what is happening. Now, I would love to do it for free, but I have to earn a living, and we have to pay for all of this. And every single piece of equipment, it's actually all sitting here behind me in big Pelican cases that I brought with me on the plane, that's all paid for through this process. Crowdfunding is what we call it. So we do it through Patreon, and then we connect that through Hurricane Track, which we've been around since 1999. You log in on the insider site right there, and bam, you're over here, where the crux of everything we do as a community comes together. The live cameras, the live weather data, and we'll have a little bit of it this time. That really is more for the big major hurricanes when we can drive all the equipment out there. There's that interactive map and more from there. So this is what everything looks like. This is our dashboard of all the live cams that we've got. This is one of them being tested right now in the back of our rental. And then we've got that awesome tracking map. This is what it looks like when you can turn on the different layers. You can turn the cameras on and off. And as we deploy the cameras for these are permanent, by the way, sites from people that support the project. And we have permanent cameras there. For example, here's one down at Port Aransas at one of our friend William, Mr. Campbell down there. It's looking at a graveyard, but hey, think about how windy and rainy this is going to be, because look how close that permanent cam is to the track of Beryl. Our goal and our intention this time around is we brought 5 of them this time, spread them out down here along the coast, maybe hold one back here for the Katy area. I know a good spot to put it to monitor for flooding, and that's what we're going to do. And you can watch as we do this, and you can participate and be a part of it. So that's my point. Instead of having an app where I'm just selling you something, we get to all be involved together in a basic cooperative. That's the investment that you're making for the long-term future of it. You want to watch just right now and see what's happening? Certainly that is great too, but Patreon has made it easy to do. You can sign up for free, and then when you're ready to become an investor, a supporter, hopefully for the long term, you can do so. You just go to patreon.com/Hurricane Track or get the app and sign up, and then you get a username, and then which is just your email address, and you sign into the Hurricane Track homepage, and you get access to our Discord server, which has all kinds of great info. This is our community. There they are. These are our incoming, what we call insiders, and it's real. It's an amazing thing. I like to promote it, yes, because it helps to pay the bills, but I'm also very proud of it. It's a really neat thing, and we have a great community. We got a lot of support from people. I don't like to call them fans. I'm not a rock star, but we have supported. We have a great community, and it's all done through Patreon. We've been doing that since about 2016, so that's how we do what we do, and it helps to, make everything come together. And as we say, you track it, we literally take you there. And that's what will be our next step here. I'll put this video online, you'll watch it, and Matt and I are going to go out and start scouting some locations, watching the models, yes, watching the updates from the Hurricane Center, and then being ready just like you would for those impacts. And we're going to put these camera systems up and show you those impacts from point blank right there in the teeth of it. And this will help us too to be ready for the meat of the hurricane season, which is still in front of us, of course, August through October. All right? So look, it's on you. You know what to expect, a little bit, at least from me. Do your homework. Read some of those Weather Service links that I gave you. Stay on top of this. Don't worry about some of the extreme examples of what could happen. Focus on what's in front of you. If you've lived down in Texas, you know hurricanes. This one's different. It certainly will be, and you know what to do. I've given you the tools. You do the rest, all right? And we'll be right there with you. By the way, we will be live tomorrow on YouTube publicly, and that should happen early in the morning around 8 a.m. Central Time. Matt and I will be live as we set up all the equipment, all right? Have a good rest of your Saturday. Thanks, as always, for giving me a piece of your attention. I appreciate it with all that's going on in the world. I appreciate you fitting me into that. And I am Mark Sudduth for Hurricane Track. I'll talk to you again tomorrow.